world. Okay, I think
we're
we're
live
on.
and you found us. We were on.
And let me just make sure.
We'll make sure.
We found them.
We found. You know what? We gave you just a little quiz tonight to really try to find Dan and Cindy. But welcome to Sunsets with
Dan and Cindy.
Well,
See, it needs a jazz chord with that, right?
You can tell we've got a special guest tonight with us. And sorry about that. We were on Sandy's personal Facebook. We're testing things out.
Where I stock pictures of my children, let's be honest. Yeah. That's what that one's for.
But you found us. We are live tonight. And welcome to Sunsets with Dan and Cindy. We've got a great show in store for you tonight. We've got a special guest, Master Sergeant Justin Echols with the Oklahoma City Police Department. He's one of our dear friends.
Well, let me tell you this.
Jump in.
When we first moved to Oklahoma City, probably 11 years ago, we would go to these functions downtown, and I would hear this voice. And at first, it was just beautiful. And then I thought, they are playing like, they've got this great playlist of Nat King Cole and Tony Bennett and just all. And then someone said, no, that's a live band.
I mean, we thought,
that's Justin
is that really
singing.
Nat King Cole?
So
Nat King Cole singing.
So I was so nervous. I wanted to meet you. I was so nervous. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I remember the first time.
I came up to the side of the stage and I said, hi, my name is Sandy. And I just want you to know that your music is really powerful.
I remember that happening. But why were you nervous?
You know, I just respect art so much, and your art is so exquisite. I wanted to, I just was nervous.
I'm a lucky guy to have you as nervous. That's just like.
Well, you're our extra boy, because we could be your parents.
We could be.
So we fell in love with Justin's music,
yes.
But then we really fell in love with Justin and your family. And Justin's a father and a husband and a brother and a friend and a fabulous musician, as I already said, and a police officer.
You're making me blush.
Yeah. And
well, speaking of police officer,
your day job is police officer.
We do have, so that makes him a first responder, and we'll have a little sip of our fire department coffee tonight.
Indeed.
So again, thank you. Many of you have been signing on and making some purchases. And again, fire department coffee, everything goes. Developed proceeds, and a portion of the proceeds go to benefit first responders.
Yeah. So how about that?
So it's a great thing. So
we
one of our
thank
sponsors.
you, and I'm telling you, the coffee is good. Iced
coffee.
It's fantastic. We also want to just say a quick shout out to our friends at getfaithful.com. Backing up, fire department coffee is fire department DEPT. Coffee.com. And you can get a discount on there by entering Sandy.
Yes,
and then our friends at Get Faithful have really provided a wonderful service for those of us who haven't always been comfortable with counseling. And I'm telling you, this has been a season where isolation has happened and people have been stuck in the house with people that unfortunately, they don't like each other. And so this has been a great resource. And now we have a whole nother level that we just need to process.
Yes.
So we thank our friends at getfaithful.com, and they want to offer you a 10% discount for joining, and because they know it's really important. But we want to get to our friend Justin.
Let me give you a little context that we know we're in a time, and Sandy and I were talking, Justin, that maybe in our lifetime, our adult lifetime, we've never been in a season quite like this. And again, your audience out there, we're really trying to reach that baby boomers. Those folks that born in 46 to about 64, 65. So we're one of the largest demographics out there, moving quickly towards retirement, which again, Dan and Cindy, that's
where that all comes from.
That's our pre-retiree names.
Uh-huh.
We've left the office, but there's nothing about us that wants to slow down. So that age group out there, maybe many of you have wondered, you've been watching the TV, maybe some of you live in Minneapolis, maybe some of you watching, we hear from you. You live in some of these cities that have just been really ravaged. And a good we just felt like we wanted tonight's episode. This isn't a one and done.
Yeah. Oh, no,
I want to preface that. And I want to say this up front.
Yeah.
But maybe this can be our hope, Cindy's and mine, I guess, Cindy's and Justin, as we've talked this week and prayed together.
And
about tonight.
let me just say, in 10 months, when you retire
Oh,
from the
yeah.
Oklahoma City Police Department,
he'll be back before 10 months.
you can have a pre-retirement name. So be thinking now.
I'm going to work on it. At first I thought one syllable, now I'm thinking something.
Yeah, and
No,
this
okay.
is,
Something
because it's got to be
else.
like, it's got to be your wife too. It's got to be Dan and Cindy.
Yeah.
It's like Dan and Cindy.
And it's got to have jazz chords
But
on it.
if you
Anyway,
follow
sorry.
this week, I reposted early on in the crisis that we've been in. Justin's post was fantastic. I've posted 2 folks this week, Justin Echols and Dr. Martin Luther King, several of his posts. Let me read this for you. This is Justin's this previous Sunday. With everything that's going on, just know I am a good cop. And police like me need your prayers. I've gone from protecting and serving the people to being hated and targeted by those very same folks. I get up with pride to wear my uniform, but I can now certainly feel that X on my back. Just remember, when we conjure up a riot of hate or motivated by that at one faulty cop or cops, we're conjuring up an army of hate that can impact all cops.
Yeah.
Justin Echols, and that's justinechols.com. But you know what? That really got me thinking, Justin. That really got my attention. I reposted that, and so for the folks out there, what we're hoping tonight is that you could share your heart. I mean, what I think your perspective, you bring a unique perspective, and as a friend, how do we begin? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe that's the first.
And I want to just preface.
Yeah.
I want to say, this is not a political issue. This is a kingdom issue.
Yes.
This is a humanity issue.
Right.
And we have to get to a place where we can, and I want you to speak to this, Justin, create safe, consistent dialogue.
Right.
Because this is not one conversation because we feel bad about what happened. This is something that it's time.
Yes.
I want you to acquaint our folks with who is Justin.
Yeah, let's begin. That's a great
and
place
then
to start.
and then we'll go
It's
from
good.
there.
It's good.
First of all, if you did not know, I'm an African American or a black man or whatever other colloquialism for.
Yeah. So
You know what I joke? Sometimes I joke and I call myself chocolate.
chocolate.
I say my race is chocolate, not black, just to be annoying.
Snarky, because you're a musician.
No,
That's
I'm
what we do. Is there a
preference?
preferred?
Or do it
Nomenclature.
just depend from individual
I'm
to
used to African American. I
Okay.
think that's kind of where I grew. I think it depends on the era. That's
Okay.
not what my grandfather was used to.
Right.
My grandfather was a fire and brimstone Baptist preacher from Mississippi, and that is not what he was used to being called.
Oh wow.
So that's a whole long story. But,
Wow.
But so I started off my life, adult life, going into military. Just before that, I spent years in Bible and ministry. Was a ministerial student, but decided I wanted to be a police officer. So I went to the U.S. Army.
Okay.
Became a police officer, military police corps. Shortly in that, after that, I figured, I like this. I was in the reserve, so I liked this a lot. So I got on Oklahoma City Police Department, and sure enough, we were activated during Iraqi Freedom and Nova Legal.
Okay.
And I felt like, hey, this is my opportunity. My grandfather was in the Korean War. My
Right.
father was in Vietnam. And so this is my time. I'm paying my dues. This is where I get to create my impact. And so I was surprised that just 1 month into that, I ended up getting into a head-on collision
Oh my goodness.
while training and injured my spine,
Oh
which
wow.
is a back problem that I still have.
Okay.
It's chronic, and my health spiraled out of control. I had all of the spinal issues that I had, plus I had severe scarring. I have a condition called spontaneous keloid scarring, where I developed keloids, large keloids all over and on my scalp. I had 6 hair removal procedures. I had hiatal hernias from the medication from the back, and I was 26 and I was flat out depressed
Wow.
because
Yeah.
I was
Sure.
dealing with mobility limitations, and all of the ego that I had as a police officer from being physically strong was then gone
Wow.
because I was struggling to even get through Walmart.
Wow.
And so to battle my depression, I started listening to music. I started listening to classics. I heard an old Louis Armstrong CD I remember having Ray Charles, Nat King Cole. Of course, I found Sinatra, and I found all of the composers, and I found the Gershwins and Cole Porter, and
I love that.
all of the
Some great,
and so it was new to me. I mean, I was,
really,
this is the early 2000s, and that was brand new music to me, and I lit up, and
what a wealth of music.
Yeah, I finally started playing,
and you'd never played. We've talked enough before.
I'd taken a lesson or two, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't read any music. I never played publicly or performed or anything like that.
And this was early 2000s, you said.
Early 2000s, yeah.
But you had a mentor.
I have had some mentors. I've had some pretty amazing mentors. Really, I mean, I had some mentors in Oklahoma City. Earl Day was a mentor of mine who taught me a lot of the basics of being able to play. And he's a great musician. Larry Pierce was a phenomenal jazz piano player in town for years. And and finally, I had a CD that was sent to New York City.
Yes.
And my mentor became a guy named Antonio Chiacca, who's a phenomenal pianist, an incredible Italian jazz pianist who invited me to his home, and that was done by Wynton Marsalis.
That's just amazing to me. And Wynton Marsalis began to open doors. So you traveled Europe,
tours,
and I've seen you. We've gotten to work together a couple of times, as recently as Christmas.
Yeah, it was great.
Yes. When we got to be with Kristen Chenoweth. And
Christmas time was so great.
So fun.
And so, but you know what?
We all sang.
We did indeed, and it was just such a special night.
It was a really great night.
And but you have the hardest gig you've ever had right now.
Yeah. I mean,
so you just tell a little bit about you.
So I'm an Oklahoma City police officer also, and I recently transferred or put in the transfer back to patrol, and I really like it. I like how different it is from music. I think I need creativity, but I also need a little bit of risk. And there's something about serving people in exigence that really gets my blood flowing.
Well, I was so touched by this week as we were texting back and forth and invited you to come do our crazy little show. But your text back to me just really got me. You said, "What time is your show? I have to leave my patrol down at the protest downtown to come to the show." Now, there's so much in that sentence.
Right.
And so can you just speak to that, about what's happening, what your thoughts are, and how we can, you take it.
Yeah.
Teach us.
Well, I think, I think it's important that protests happen. I think it really is important. I think it is one of our rights as citizens that we have, for there to be peaceful I will restate, peaceful protest is an important part of what we as Americans are able to do. I think, as I thought about exactly what my position is with this as a black person, as a musician, and as a police officer.
As an officer, yes.
I thought
that's a very unique position.
Well, let me tell you why. Well, the reason it's unique is because there are people from different worlds that follow different aspects of my life. So I have one group of really close friends that I work with every day. We go to Heather's Cafe and we have coffee and we talk about the world and
coffee talk.
And we're all in uniform and they're my brothers.
Love that.
Yes. I mean, I've known some of these guys for 20 years.
Wow.
I was in a police academy with many of these guys. Then I have this whole other group of people who know me from church, or the other group that knows me from playing jazz piano. And I realized that I have something really powerful, which is the ability to be a bridge builder.
That's
and
so good.
To connect all of these audiences from different places to one another.
Yeah.
And so rather than be a person who has taken a position, and I think we need people who take strong positions.
Sure.
Okay.
We need people who take strong positions and come from certain social contexts.
Yeah.
But rather than me take a strong position, I thought that the more beneficial thing for me to do in society is to tie people together from different places and create a safe space for those different people to have dialogue.
That's good.
And for my audience to be able to have dialogue. And that's why I posted that.
Yeah.
That's so good.
The post that I did was because I know, and I think we had thousands of comments on that post,
Yeah.
but they were all from different walks of life.
Yeah.
I know because I know them.
Right.
And some of them are from my residency at Gallardia, others
Right.
are from out of the country, and others are from high school that I went to. I mean, it's just people from all walks of life. And I've seen it get out of hand. It didn't.
Wow.
People commented on
Are
each
you talking about
other's.
the comments?
Yeah,
Did
on the
not
comments,
get
on
out.
the Facebook
Okay.
post, yes.
It
Yes.
remained healthy
Yes.
and
Good.
rich, and I was so inspired
So good.
by that. And so I thought, hey, my job is to, as a musician, as an artist, is to help people transcend their dissimilarities.
Oh, you need to say that again. You need to say that. That's
My
a
mission-
key phrase.
Yeah.
My mission as an artist, my personal mission, rather than taking a position, is to help people transcend their dissimilarity.
That's so
That's
good.
good.
That's
That's
what,
good.
That's my mission. That's what I do.
I like that.
There are a couple things that we've talked this week, and I want to speak about your family. Was a real opportunity with your marriage. Was a real opportunity to bring
To be
different groups,
Yeah.
different groups, together and realize that this is. Tell us about that a little bit, if you would. I think is that okay to jump in there?
If you were to look at my family and to see, I'm married to a white woman from Iowa. My father-in-law is a Iowa farmer and truck driver.
Oh, goodness.
When you look at my mother's a school teacher, my father is an entrepreneur and politician. When you looked at our house years ago, if you were to look and see them gather together for dinner, what you'd see is exactly what I described. The people that had a reason to get in the same room and figure out how
that's such a good point.
they were similar.
How they were similar.
And you saw it happening. I saw my uncle Clemmy, who lives in Spencer, country boy at heart. I think Uncle Clemmy is from, I should know this, Idabel. So you take that and you take my father-in-law from Iowa, and these people figured out we eat the same food. We both like to hunt.
About that?
We like the same beer.
Yeah.
And the conversation just never stopped.
I love that.
And they speak in two different country dialects even.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm talking about. But it was magical to watch them bond. As different as they were.
Yes.
Both of them in their 70s now. I think my Uncle Clemmy is 80, as a matter of fact. To watch them cross that bridge and be sitting with one another with all of the differences they've had and history that's behind them of being apart. To watch them have that conversation just because they had a reason and a safe space.
And a safe space. And you said when we were talking earlier about the safe space.
Right.
Will you just reiterate that?
Yes. So
enter a conversation.
I think
you said I've got some suggestions.
Yeah. So and it's really complicated because some of the things, dialogue is really the magic of how diversity occurs.
Good.
And so, when you enter into dialogue with someone who has dissimilarity, it needs to be a safe and comfortable place for you to do that. So there's some suggestions with that. I mean, first of all, both people have to agree that, hey, let's create a safe place for dialogue. Because many of the problems that are happening in our country right now really give us the motivation to have dialogue.
Yeah.
You might not want to have it on with a stranger at a coffee shop that you walk right up to though.
Right.
So, but one of my first suggestions is to try to form dialogue with people who you have rapport with.
Okay.
Who you know.
Yeah.
The second, obviously, our motivation for having dialogue should be to learn.
Yeah.
To not.
Absolutely.
We enter these conversations like with our marriages, like what we want to do is we want to enter the dialogue to prove our point. And that's how we
That
argue,
is
right?
such
You
a
went from,
that.
I think he just went from teaching to meddling.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
turn the comments off.
Dan and Cindy just got boom.
So
Okay.
we do. We enter
No,
it
but that is an
to
excellent
prove
point.
that we're right. We want
Yeah.
affirmation. We want to know that we're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's not really the kind of conversation that we need to be able to have. We need to have a conversation where we can learn things we didn't know before.
That's good. That's and you know, it makes me think that if we're going to have that kind of conversation, we have to do less talking and more listening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think both people. I think both.
Agreed.
we have to
I
speak,
agree.
But we definitely have to be willing to listen.
Yeah.
Because we can't assume. This was one of my other things. We can't assume that our perspective is the only one, which is difficult because well, they teach us that there's right and wrong,
Right.
and that's true. I mean, it's real. There is absolute truth. But if you got two people that are standing on opposite sides of one building, and they're describing something different,
Right.
they're both right.
You know, that's
They're both right.
It's perspective.
If you've
That's
seen
good.
you've seen those drawings that they have, and the drawings they'll have like a princess, and it'll be a frog at the same time. And
Yeah.
which one do you see first?
Yeah.
They're both right.
Yeah, that's
They're
good.
both right.
That's good.
So we have to give people permission to have perspectives that are different,
Yep.
without assuming that they're wrong because they're not ours.
Yes.
Because sometimes as complicated as this is,
Yeah.
sometimes there's more than one truth in
That's,
some of these things. And
that's
that's tough.
That's a really
tough.
That's good. So it's got to be safe.
Safe.
It's got to be one that we know that there really should be some. There should be some, if you will, relational
Yeah.
You want a
building
relationship
clout
if you can.
together.
Yeah.
Because you got to have that together.
You know, it makes me think of this. My mom always says about marriage. She said when a couple says they don't fight, she says somebody's not speaking up. And
Wow,
so,
that's great.
isn't that good
Yeah,
though?
yeah.
So I think dialogue it might be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but if you've determined ahead of time, I'm going to continue this dialogue with you. This is not a one and done.
You said something also too early that you know what we say in marriage, that we always want to believe the highest motive.
Yeah.
You know, and you deal with a lot of folks in high stress or
That's
in
right.
this, you know, and you've got to make split-second decisions, and you're. I can only imagine as a police officer, you're a student of people.
Right.
You have to
Right,
read
right,
signs.
right,
You have to read.
Right.
But believing that folks are doing their best. You mentioned something
Yeah,
about that.
you know, because what we're talking about is we're talking about organizing conversations with people who are different than us. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's really what's going to allow us to have a better world. So I think, Don, if I'm going to have a conversation with you, I've got to agree with you that I'm going to assume that you're doing the best you can, and that there's no malice involved in anything you're saying.
That's
You're
good.
just sharing.
Yes.
We have to start from that place.
We do. You were
That's
exactly right,
because
Justin.
These are very personal and
Yes.
very emotional conversations.
Yes.
Yes.
And so if we have to agree, if you don't have that trust with the person,
Yeah.
you might not want to have that conversation.
Yeah,
Because
true.
It's a relational. It's that trust, and it's relational capital, if you will. It's capital's not the right word that I'm looking for, but that believing, you know, that
It's intention.
Yes.
Believing that people have
the highest intentions. There
Yeah.
it is. Yes.
Because you know what's something I thought was awesome. I went to our former chief of police, Chief Bill City. I was amazed by him and how he handled questioning, tough questioning.
Wow.
So I went to
Yeah.
him one night. We were at fight night, I think it was, and I went to him and I asked him. We were talking, and I asked him, "How is it that you answer questions with such poise and you're not offensive?" And you know what he told me? He said, "You have to understand, people really believe these things. These are really their beliefs.
Oh, wow.
You have to be sensitive."
Yes.
And he said his mother taught him to listen to people because this is a personal. What is more personal to us than our beliefs?
Yeah, right.
And so he empathizes with that, even if he thinks that those beliefs may be wrong.
Interesting.
Wow.
He really does empathize with it. And I
And
think
even
that's the
from
attitude.
a podium, he creates a safe space.
Creates a safe space.
Which is your
with
first
attitude.
point.
I'm going to get a little Pippin. I'll be
I
right back.
know. We are, our little dog is
Yeah.
having some.
So I
issues.
think that's part of it. I think part of creating a safe space is creating the assurance that a person is not going to be criticized or ridiculed or judged.
Right.
And that you're going to be patient enough not to be offended by what, because which is a strong word in our culture.
Yes.
It's very easy for us to be offended. We have to agree in this safe space.
Yes.
In this conversation.
Yes.
That if the person indeed is honorable and
Right.
not malicious,
Correct.
that we can then give them the courtesy of not being offended
Yes.
if they're saying something that hurts us, because they're not saying it to hurt us.
No.
They're just saying something that hurts us.
Exactly.
Okay, well, and
that's
that's
a different motive.
That's a different motive.
That's a different motive, and that goes back to your
Yeah.
point of believing the highest motive.
Right.
And the highest motive is one of you're coming to me with genuine
Right.
humility, authenticity to learn.
Right.
Because we're in this life together. This
That's
is
right.
not a dress rehearsal. This is
it's
it.
going to happen. I mean, I don't. People are very uncomfortable with this, but it's going to happen. If we all talked about slavery right now, there are some sensitivities that I have that you're unaware that I have.
Yeah.
Because the conversation I am going to have is going to be about my great great grandfather, but you don't know that story.
Wow.
And so if you talk about slavery, it's somebody that I have direct connection to in Byhalia, Mississippi. I mean, these are real people. My family still actually owns the land
Really?
where we were slaves, because the slave owner, the slave master, went and bought a farm it was a big mess with the Ku Klux Klan in Mississippi. And these are tough conversations to have. We have to lighten the load here enough to have that conversation and to give you permission. You're going to say some things, and they may step on some emotions of mine. I'm going to have to let you do that, because your intent is not to hurt my feelings.
My intent is to know each other well enough to know. My intent is to learn, and to be enlightened.
Right. And then I'll share with you, well, that hurt, and this is why it hurt a little bit.
Yes.
This is why I was sensitive to what you said.
Yes.
And that's not a counterattack. That's
growth. Together, that's growth.
And we both leave learning.
And we both leave better. And to acknowledge, and this is true. Just I'm a fan. I'm a student of counseling.
Right.
To acknowledge someone else's pain.
Right.
Like, I want to just wrap you in my arms and say, I'm so sorry about your great-great-grandfather.
Right.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what else to say.
Right.
And for me to go, it was so long ago. But no, it has shaped.
Yes.
It has shaped.
And that's a tough
And
one.
to acknowledge, just acknowledge.
Yes. Acknowledgement is really important. You know, it has. So, his children, I have pictures on their lap when they're old, on the same land.
Wow.
So I'm still young enough or old enough.
Yeah.
I'm close enough to those times to be that close to the generation.
That wow?
Yeah. So once you get out to where you don't even know who these people are.
Yeah.
Multiple generations, then it will fade. As long as you get stories and there's oral history, there is a little bit of a connection, and there is an identity thing. Like, you're trying to figure out who you are and how.
And that's very well said, and I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the questions I think we as white people don't know how to ask.
Yeah.
So I appreciate so much you speaking to
and
that.
I get it, though. I get the other side of it, and this is where you're having to relate to folks who may not have that issue. The other side of it is, I get, how is it that something like that can be personally painful and offensive? You've never met them. This is multiple generations. This is a long time. And it's really not that aspect of it as much as it is, I'm trying to figure out my own identity based on these people who are my family members.
Right. Right. Because they are in your story.
They are
in your story.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it can be personal.
Yeah.
It can be personal.
I would think very personal. Yeah. Well, I I want to just say for all of us, I hope that we can do this again.
Yes.
Because
Right.
this is not a one and done.
Right.
No.
Right.
But I would also be so honored. You've never played my piano
No,
before.
I've not played your piano.
So I would
Just
just be
set
so honored
Yeah,
if you
I'd
would
love
just sit here and play the song that
I
you and
would
I
love
talked
to.
about. And if you don't mind, I just might jump in on some
All
harmonies.
right.
I'm going to take this right here.
So
How's
say
this
whatever
looking,
you
Sam?
want to say to the
Is
folks
that
watching.
Is that looking better?
Yeah, I think so. And I'll just sit right here.
I see trees of green, red roses too.
Come on, sing.
I see the glow for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Come on, you just sing.
I see skies blue, clouds of white, bright and blessed day, dark sacred night, and I think to myself,
I think to myself.
what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow so pretty in the sky are also on the faces of people walking by. I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. They're really saying I love you.
Come on.
I hear babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know.
And I
Oh yeah.
think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I think to myself,
To myself. These chords just kill me.
I think to myself,
I think to myself.
Come on, let's all sing it.
what a wonderful world.
He keep playing out like the Tonight Show band. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're gonna send you all the information.